Good morning, folks. Grab your cup. Living life with F&D. We won't give up. Spill your coffee. Hey, that's okay. We'll laugh it off and seize the day. Sip happens, but we're alright. With Sarah's mug, we'll win the fight. Science stories, laughs, and fun. Morning chats for everyone. So take a sip, don't spill the brew. Join the chat, it's made for you.
Good morning, everyone. Wakey, wakey, it's time to eggy bakey, as a friend used to say. If you can please do me a favor, if you haven't, subscribe, get notified, do all the things, like, comment, share, the love, and maybe I kind of wanted to test this and kind of jumpstart, getting back into it and get rid of some fears and anxiety and all that about going live. And sorry, this is so limited, but you guys will get me there eventually. Until I get 1,000 subscribers. My coffee is ready. I will be right back. See you soon. Okie dokie, I'm back. So, how do you guys like your coffee? I like black soap folders, and then I put a packet of hot chocolate. So it is really good. How about you guys? Leave your your ideas of how you like your coffee. And then I like these. I don't know why I like these, but ever since I flew on a plane, I like these for breakfast. I tried Belvita, the Belvita ones with, like chocolate and blueberries and stuff, and I find these are a little bit better, less crap in it. I think I'm going to do the Maya case. I know that you guys have seen, a bazillion different aspects of, different cases and stuff. You got to give me credit for trying. This will be on, for 24 hours because I'm going to just continue feeling stupid until we get, this on roll. I am doing better with F&D. I would say after watching a lot of other people that have F&D, knock on wood, that I don't get a major flare in the future. So I'm doing good. I kind of did things backwards, trying to figure out, what I could handle. Instead of, taking my time, I was like, I'm gonna push and see what aggravates it and what doesn't, and then, chill out, give myself the grace. So knock on wood that I don't have any future flares. I would say the exhaustion post-exertion is the hardest thing for me to deal with, because I want to live my life to the fullest. And so, like, if I take a walk or I stand, like, I have to calculate the exertion into my daily life, like tomorrow. And that could be the other reason why I was exhausted this morning in malaise, because I took a shower last night, and that seems, why would that happen? Well, I think it's along the lines of when this all started. Should I say this live, or should I record this? I only got one shower while I was in a 14-day stay. Yeah, 7 days without a shower. My left side reverted back to being paralyzed. I could not really think, and my body was so disconnected. I didn't know. People were treating me like, you need to try harder. Da, 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 da. There was disconnection with this that I didn't know how to. I wasn't given specialized. I was given just your basic PT. Here you go. This is your diagnosis. I was also denied and given excuses for why, when I was like, I need mental health services, like, why? I didn't care if it was like telehealth and, just somebody to talk to. However, the chaplain does not really classify as mental health. If you were, sorry, I moved the table there. If you are a psychiatrist, let's get her mental health services. That way we can see if we need to taper off of this medication that might be the result of this condition. And then I know this is all mumbo jumbo. Then giving me services, that my rights to services, to see if we need to taper it off, remove it completely, because I am very hypersensitive to medication. Very, 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 very sensitive. And we'll go in through that later. I was expecting to be tested based off of my experience with another family member, getting a spinal tap, different things. But then, the days before, I couldn't remember how many days before, it seemed like the day before discharge, you have this, which turns out to be a outdated medical diagnosis. It's been outdated since 2013. And then to be told that it's just a mental thing. But then I lost my apartment, and therefore I didn't have a place to go after completing 30 days, which after 30 days, I think I would have had the help to find a new place to live. That would have given me, everybody would be scurrying around, but this all shouldn't have ever happened. Then going to my primary care physician, who now has the reputation of dumping last minute on his colleagues, patients on his colleagues. She did not have time to look at my history. She did not do. I felt like she did not know my condition, FND. She did not know that it had been updated to FND. I've had the runaround that people, oh, you have that. It's common as a migraine, da 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 da. However, it makes me kind of sick that I've been gaslit, mistreated, neglected, and then unethically given medication despite, my hypersensitivity. And having a hypersensitivity, also, I get gaslit. unprofessional, unethical. And then, I'm trying to get into physical therapy, and while this outdated terminology is still in my records, and just use the correct terminology, updated terminology. It would save a lot of headache. So anyhow, I hope that gives you a little bit tidbit about, what's going on with me, and the frustrations. This all shouldn't have ever happened. I think it also got dismissed, because I made the mistake. Yeah, I own up to it. I made the mistake of going to the wrong hospital. But the other thing is, I was mentally abused, because I asked to have get some relief, get my medication that I've been taking, get some other medication. I consented to it, even though I wrote down that I'm hypersensitive. I have a record of it. And then 45 minutes saying that, you're going to kick me out of the hospital, and you're going to write me down as I'm going against medical, and claiming that insurance won't pay. And then within those 45 minutes, my blood pressure, which that information I am going to try to obtain, because it is missing out of my medical records. Yeah, 45 minutes, my blood pressure was stroke high. And then you tell me that you're not going to give me anything or send me to the hospital, and that I'm doing this, all on my own. I could not stop. I was in distress. I couldn't get myself. It took me a good 45 minutes to walk away from her mental, emotional stupidity, is what it is. You check somebody's blood pressure, you take, ethical, it's this all shouldn't have ever happened. And then, now, like, statute, I'm learning, because, I've had to do a lot of this by myself and figure out, because nobody wants to take this case. So, yeah, I am looking to pursue, I only want my life back. My life was going good. Then I fell. I didn't hit my head. Hurt my knees. My knees hurt still. I'm kind of glad that I'm venting, and usually if you do see me, I will probably hop off. I'm starting to feel the facial stuff, but this all shouldn't have ever happened. And I'm hoping that I don't know what else to do anymore, besides getting on and venting to the World Wide Web. This should have never happened to anybody. I don't care, regardless of it loses my trust in the healthcare system. The mistreatment, the abuse, the neglect, the inhumane, like, and then, reading my health records and the doctor's reports, he should have made, the effort. The nurse should have made an effort to, refer me out, get me checked out. But again, and then there's some of it that it's my fault that I can't remember my long list of medications because I have no access to my phone or any, technical devices. I just wanted relief. I'm sorry that I couldn't just go and sit and get all this information ahead of time. Yeah, this I think was a concussion. And from my fall, and because I was kind of on this roller coaster. Because the medication that I was on, it was, I think, helping me. But it was also making me, I wouldn't necessarily, I think my fall was because I wasn't really paying attention to the sidewalk. I was just like beelining, trying to get stuff done, wanted to take a walk, and the, sidewalk had, was not broken, but had, lifted up. I can't think of the word, but over time, it had this bevel, and right, belly flopped right on the concrete. Yeah, I should have just called the ambulance, but I thought I was fine. And yeah, I had nothing in my hands. I was just focusing on what I needed to do for the day, just like anybody. I wasn't talking on the phone. Sorry, the sunlight is coming in. Talking on the phone. I wasn't talking on the phone. I wasn't texting, how you text and you're not paying attention to what's ahead. I really scraped up my knee, especially on my left side. So I think that trauma caused, issues on my left side. But at the same time, I also, when I was about 7 or 10, I flipped over handlebars on a bike, kind of the same experience. I blacked out that time because, flying over the handlebars or flipped over the handlebars. So again, I had, a lot of issues with my belly, or I'm having issues again, like, I did as a kid. But so nobody showed up today. That's all right. We'll get there. Maybe after this live. Maybe. So I hope you can see when I dissociate about this story today. I am just happy that, my face is not twitching, which is a good sign that, that I am getting over this. I think a lot of it is too, I've, worked on medications. Therapy is going good. I've decreased, mainly because I can't drive anymore. I've had to sell my car, which is a bummer. because yeah, people would say it is what it is, and you got to do what you got to do. But there's kind of it's upsetting because, how do I say this? That's the only way I can see mom, or know mom's presence is, around. Um, no, I am not hallucinating. If anybody's, um, she knows that, that I love a certain thing, and that is how I can be deeply connected. So now I've kind of lost that. Lost a lot, but things will get better. And they continue getting better. See, I'm trying not to cry. It makes me mad that, life was going good, and that stupid one fall, and then I made the mistake of going to the wrong hospital. Not only that, let me go back. So when I got to this hospital, which is supposed to be 24/7, open 24/7 for mental health, I thought I was in a crisis. I didn't think of any of the fall had to do anything with it. But the hospital is supposed to be 24/7, right? Mental crisis, 24/7, get in. No. Their doors is locked. And this is not like, I would understand 11 o'clock, close from 11 to 6, lock just in case to keep the safety of, the staff. No, this was like 6, 7, 8 o'clock. I think it was 8, 9, somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly. But the doors were locked. They typically have a red phone outside, right? Just in case the phone doesn't work. Phone doesn't even dial, doesn't like ring to staff member. Doors are locked, no professional receptionists at the front desk. Locked. It took me 20 minutes. And I had no concept of calling somebody. I might have been like, oh, there's a phone, da da da, but when you're in a crisis like that, nothing works. You're impaired. I'm kind of disgusted that I could not call anybody, but somehow I knew I needed to drive myself there. I could have hurt somebody. That would hurt me even more, hurting somebody. But then, there were people that could have helped me. You failed me. You're going to own it. So I'm probably going to delete this. Thank you guys for, letting me vent on here. This all shouldn't have ever happened. It's like, where are you, squid? Oh, lordy. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of what happened. Oh, I was missing tidbit here. I never had like drop seizures. Like, yeah, was like kind of falling after COVID. I started, having these episodes. Yeah, I don't remember if it was the medication prior to all this causing me to fall. I think that is different from the actual fall. I think that was just, I was beelining and then the sidewalk was disheveled. I think that's the word that I'm beveled, disheveled, whatever. So I think that was different than medication. But while I was 3 weeks in rehab, well, 2 weeks, 1 week, figuring out what was going on with me or lack of, and I didn't really have any faults. Like, I wasn't having seizures. It wasn't until I had to return to the same hospital, because this is all in your head. This F&D is all in your head. But then let's throw, instead of using common sense, like ethical sense, let's refer her out. Or let's go ahead and do like a genetic testing. Let's, yeah, we don't do it here, but it would have made more sense to, since she's returned, she has all these sensitivities to medications. She's been here before. I was really worried. But at the same time, I was medically mandated because this is a mental health condition, not a physical. Yes, I was on medication. During my first visit, they refused to remove me off of that while I was in rehab and failed to give me mental health services. I wasn't able to do physical therapy because I lost my apartment in the process. So, therefore, we can't give her 30 more days, even though, we recommend it, because I couldn't shower. I couldn't really stand. I needed assistance for other personal reasons. I was kind of scared to even fall. But then that doctor mandated that I return to this because she didn't know that this condition was, changed, updated back in 2013. And I was on that medication still. It was making me all over the place. So I apologize to my family members and support if I was just a nut. And that's what medication that I'm sensitive to. I can feel it in my body, like it's like a foreign thing, within 30 minutes. And then the other thing that my body does is if I take a medication like at 6 a.m. and I continue taking it at 6 a.m. And I'm allergic to it or I'm sensitive to it, my body can't expel it very fast. So then I have to take, okay, then 9 o'clock, and it's so frustrating taking medication. So, and then I feel toxic and overdosey, and then, but even if it's not something that, I'm not sensitive to, but I can still feel toxic and yuck. Well, everybody, it's been an hour. Also, be kind to others, especially those that deal with chronic pain. This is not always easy, and I get it. If you are a healthcare professional that sees this, be kind to your patients. don't expect, oh, I want to try talking about this. Back to the Topamax. I was given Topamax to suppress my appetite because I had binge eating issues, food issues. And I weigh, I'm obese, I'm fluffy. I'm very fluffy. More to give. So, and I was already dealing with prediabetes because my health is, after mom died, my health had declined anyways. So I was worried about that. Having diabetes is very, very, very serious in my family. That's why I have a tattoo to remind me, to watch your sugar, basically. You don't want to, end up having diabetes. So it's a huge, huge, huge thing. So I consented to Topamax. Again, my fault. I questioned it because Topamax is typically, to my knowledge, used for seizures. I wasn't really aware that it was used to my medical knowledge, used for, I kind of knew that migraines might be, but absolutely no clue that. So I really questioned it. But, like any, human patient, I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. If I lose a little bit of weight, cool. If it helps me to knock off some of this fluffy, I'm all for it. Because having all this fluffiness, can be, it doesn't help your pain level. Nor does, being, skinny. But I'm willing to try it. My fault. The next day I tried it. 20 minutes later, I started having seizures, grand mal seizures, the ones that fall. And then, I started contracting. I did a lot of work in physical therapy, and I was losing pretty much at the beginning of returning to this hospital. I was like, I didn't want the liability. I should have walked and fall and collapse and shit. Excuse my language. I do curse. I am sorry if that offends you on this channel. But I'm aware when I am conscious when I have these episodes. So that doesn't help. So the nurse, I do recall, ripped my hair out. Ripped a chunk of my hair. To my knowledge, I don't remember that being like a seizure protocol. Do you? Oh, it gets worse. Now, I did have a nurse tell me that my enzymes did not really indicate. I think these are she told me, I think these are pseudo seizures. Okay, they're still seizures. Okay, I still classify, to my knowledge, in my history, I thought there was 3 types of classifications of seizures: convulsive, non-convulsive, and then psychogenic seizures. And that's the problem. Now, they've segregated true epilepsy, grand mal, seizure, that convulsive, and then they non-convulsive, that is like, neurological. Yeah, psychogenic might be, all in your head and stress related, and there's nothing on the scans and lab work. It's still neurology. It still classifies as neurology, maybe mental. If you are a neurologist out there, quit segregating epilepsy, seizures, regardless of, it still comes from the brain. I'm actually liking this. Sorry, I moved the table again. Oh. So then I had the next day, I was like, oh, it was the weekend, so I wasn't going to really see the same doctor. So I thought, typically you see a different doctor during the weekend. I was like, I'm going to just give it until Monday. But however, I told the nurse, if this happens again, these seizures happen again, I was falling. I was hitting my head. So, sorry, I spaced out here. So anyways, the second day I told the nurse when taking this, send me to the hospital if this happens again, and call my emergency contact, as my emergency contact is my POA, and, is in the medical field, and maybe I needed to just get out of there. So I don't know if it was that day or the day prior, but the other nurse said my enzymes just didn't really indicate that I had true epilepsy. Like, okay, psychogenic seizures, whatever, still seizures, still gonna fall, still. So the nurse that I told to, if it happens again, she failed to do that. And this time around, she splashed ammonia. And oh my God, that will give you anxiety through the it now these when I have these episodes, now I have anxiety about that incident. Like anytime, so now I have panic attacks on top of these episodes. So luckily that didn't happen again. Luckily that other nurse that kind of filled me in that you don't need that treatment. You don't need that protocol or whatever. I wasn't aware that was even a thing for seizures, but whatever. But now I have anxiety anytime I have episodes, like, because nobody wants to get hurt. But then, what gets me is the mistreatment, because based on that, I'm aware and conscious during an episode. It's still a seizure. And I was going to curse like a sailor. So, it's just frustrating how things with epilepsy and now this is common, but it's so rare that it's uncommon. And to my knowledge and my research and my experience, you guys don't know what this condition is. It's too rare. Regardless of, oh, I've heard it. No, you haven't. It's too rare. And no, as a healthcare professional, myself who does therapy, I am disgusted by the mistreatment of being misconstrued as I'm faking, I'm attention seeking, and all the outdated BS that comes with this. Stop. Please stop. I'm begging you to stop stigmatizing this. If you see it, on their health record, treat them with dignity and respect and compassion. It's mind-blowing. I hope people see this and give people grace, give them compassionate, be kind. So, back to the Topamax. They should have referred me out. They should have sent me to a real hospital. Be like, this is too out of our scope, out of our, expertise. We're going to send her to somewhere. And you wouldn't believe it, how basic medical stuff is anymore now. Like, do your job. Be ethical. My care should not be out of reach. My care should not cost out of pocket. It shouldn't ever reach out of pocket. Like, come on. It's crazy. Come on, people, wake up. It must be spring break. Everybody's on spring break. So maybe next week will be better. So, here. So I did try it a third day. And then I was like, no. But still, this hospital should have sent me somewhere. And I just laugh at, according to them reading yet again, misconstruing that this condition is all in my head, and according to my scans, which look impeccable, I will say that. However, when I did go to the neurologist 6 months, I want to say 6 months ago, I have a feeling something's amiss. I did have migraines on my non-dominant side. I lost all my dominant side, like my hand, my leg, half of my body didn't work, my face. So I know this is all scatterbrained, but I did have deep intracranial migraines. And since I couldn't write, the funny thing is, people knew that I couldn't write. Like, I would have struggled. I didn't have, a recorder or anything, because of that, chords and shit aren't allowed. And as an afterthought that, I could have asked them to ask somebody to get me a recorder, but then that wouldn't have been allowed anyways in a institution like that. So I couldn't write. I couldn't keep records because I would have been like, ugh, I had to write with my right and use my right side, but even that was a struggle. And I think because I was using my non-dominant side, I was getting these deep, it was actually on this side, deep intracranial migraines. Could they have been medication? Yeah, probably. I think it was the Topamax that caused that, but I was also having it at the rehab hospital. But anywho, I say anywho a lot too. Anywho. So they took that to their advantage, that I was paralyzed again. Basically, I couldn't really And then they were like making comments, you should try to walk. However, the wheelchair was a lightweight wheelchair. So if somebody was sitting in it, obviously, I know I had my walker too. I don't know why we didn't, walk with my walker, but they tried to make me walk, which the lightweight wheelchair flipped and fell. And there goes Sarah with the episode seizure. I've hit my head multiple times, the other thing is the nurses there were too busy. I had to do paperwork. No, you don't. Patients that I talked to were, they said that they were, nurses outside of there. They were getting frustrated at the poor, some of them, they were like, girl, we gotcha, like, I'm a nurse. This is making me upset, that you're being treated like this. And so I had a couple of patients try to sneak me and assist me to use the restroom because these nurses were too busy. I peed in the wheelchair. I even tried to make a protocol, because we were getting checked every 15 minutes or so, but I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just use this light as my pee light, my alert, like I might need to go pee here in a little bit. Flip it on. I was kind of losing sensation. I think a little bit of that was kind of paralyzed because now I have issues where when I need to use the restroom, now it's like really activated. So I'm gonna flip this light on. I had to pee in bed. One of the staff members was, can I say bitchin'? That they needed to wait on me because, and this is all in front of other patients that were trying to, get ready to go with lunch or breakfast or whatever. What's sad is I tried to report some of this. The documents during my first visit got discarded, obviously, because I was rushed to the emergency room after 3 days of my blood pressure, skyrocketing. And then finally, my face started to stroke out. Very, 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 very negligent. Inhumane. And then, I'm pretty creative. So I'm gonna just slide off the bed. Now these aren't, like hospital beds. These are just normal, I'm gonna put a towel on the floor and pee on the floor. Of course, nurses got pissed off, because I had to be cleaned up, new clothes, wash my clothes, more work for them. Sorry, but yeah, I tried, and it's really hard scooting on the floor. Like, you can't really wheelchair yourself with one arm or drag your foot because you're going to go in circles. Merry-go-round. And then what else happened? Now, you see people coming in and out of these facilities, and you can dissociate. And especially if you're on so many drugs that make you kind of loopy. Now, this is not ideation. It can make you dissociate so bad that you feel dead. You feel like you're in purgatory. Not to scare anybody. It's just, it's one of those side effects of not only being on these drugs but being in a facility. And I think it has to do with the lack of pictures or the lack of color. Like the walls are, typical medical green and beige and bleh. Like, add some color to your facility. Like, and it might be because, yeah, you're on these medications that cause side effects of like hallucinations and craziness. And so it kind of disorients you even more if there was colors. So I don't know. It's just, it feels good that I'm able to talk about this now, I think, and get it off my chest without my face and the whole shebang of episode. I think it's because I'm off a medication that, it took a little bit of time to taper off safely. I didn't. That's the other thing is they'll put you on medication or multiple medications, and then you don't know what medications, and then we, the next day, oh, that's not working, or you have side effects, and then those side effects, they don't give the proper tapering when you are in these facilities. So I hope I've been going on, and one of my best friends and I talk for a long time. This is gonna crack her up because we talk, 2 hours, on the phone, So I think I didn't replace you. She's probably cracking up. Anyways, well, I had fun doing this. Should I really try to talk about discharge or not? Maybe I should leave this part for next week. I don't know. My face feels okay. I think I can do it. I don't know. So back to, so I scooted down on the floor and peed on a towel. And once you're on the floor, you're on the floor. It's hard getting off the floor. So I needed assistance. It's sad that, people, they work for you, and then there's those that just have an attitude. It's like, if you don't like your job, there's the door. If you don't like me, there's the door. If you don't want to help me, there's the door. Find somebody else. Oh, and then the one night I had a night terror. The weird thing is, this hospital claimed that they gave me a medication that I didn't really start at a real hospital for my nightmares. So and then also I was immediately after an episode, they would give me a medication. And when you have issues, mobility issues with your hands, tiny little pill is going to be hard to get, take. The nurse said, I can't legally give it to you, and plus there's cameras. Otherwise, I would help you if I could. Then when I asked the doctor the following day, hey, what was the yellow pill? And he goes, what pill? Nobody gave you a pill. Are you hallucinating? However, that night, now, to my knowledge, the primary care physicians did not really go into the patient's bedrooms. However, when they gave me this yellow pill, I wasn't hallucinating. I swear on my mom's urn that I was like, I startled but disoriented. There's a difference. I let that doctor do his basic. Now this doctor has an issue with boundaries. Like he'll put this stethoscope on you without even consulting with you and, hey, do I have permission to listen to your heart and lungs? He'll just do it. So I kind of knew that, but you would think that if somebody has PTSD, you don't go in the room. That's their safe place. I guess, I was out of it, like, yeah, sure, do whatever. Except I did go back to sleep, which is not a hallucination. It did truly happen. I was there on my mom. So then I was dreaming some really traumatic things that had happened in my life. But then to see the doctor and then reading this document that, his treatment notes that I was hallucinating, he didn't listen. Paranoid. Yeah, I could have discharged against medical advice, and I could have done that. But I was also trying to figure out this new stuff. I was told, here's some basic exercises. It's this condition, which was an outdated, condition. So I was, okay, I had absolutely no seizures, drop attacks, panic attacks. I would say this is a severe, severe, complex form of PTSD. Could I be misdiagnosed again? We're gonna find out, considering that the doctors at the rehab, before rehab, that week before, to figure out, they should have done a spinal tap. I feel like there's something missing. I should have been referred out to if you think this, refer me out. When it comes to money, yeah, it's gonna hurt me later down the line, but it means nothing when, yeah, it's gonna hurt me. It's gonna, be a burden on me and, my support. But if you're gonna diagnose me with something so rare, refer me out. It's the only ethical thing. If you don't know about the condition, refer me out. I don't care if it's gonna cause me years and years of debt. Money means nothing. Find out. I'm gonna find out. Because I can't live like this. It's been hard. It's been hard. The other thing is, I refuse to live with this. I was trying to refuse to live with a certain family member because based on 20 years ago, another family member kind of had, it was a different disorder thing, disease, whatever, and caused them to become paralyzed, going through physical therapy. Yeah, they had to shut down the family businesses. Get her, the things that this person needed, with physical therapy. But, this family member, they're still recovering. And they just got to a point where, things are great. Kids are out of the house, off to college, almost done with college, building their dream home. I didn't want that to be a burden. And I know you're crying because now I'm going to cry. I just didn't want them to have to go through that again. That's why I'm fighting for my independence, figure out, as quickly and, as possible. That way, I can. It's hard. Yeah, I know that family is there to help you no matter if it has, is kind of a similar situation again. And so, and that's nothing against I don't want that one family member to feel bad, that they went through that and struggled with it, or, their family, their parents struggled with it. But, they also, they have their life too, and I'm very independent. And that's the hard thing too, and so finding my independence, autonomy is very important, as an adult. Do I really want to talk about? I keep thinking that I should talk about the discharge part and get this out in the open. I might as well. Let's see what happens. This might trigger me, and I have my finger on to end the stream. So I'm going to say this. Please like, share, get notified, subscribe, do all the things, send Cash App money if you have it. If not, then do not send me your last. I don't want to use, ramen noodles because, another YouTuber uses that. But it's hard to, because you get so addicted to some of these YouTubers and you start saying the same stuff. So ramen noodles is out. We need to come up with our own thing. Let's say power money, Powerball. Send me some Powerball money. I like that because I'm kind of sloppy. I like that. I'm so creative, aren't I? I like that. Send me your Powerball money. And if I do win the Powerball, I will share it just with you. I will. Because I am a kind, loving human who just wants good for the world. And if I do win the Powerball, I will become your personal massage therapist because I am a medical massage therapist and I will take care of you. You take care of me, I'll take care of you. I like that. Send me your Powerball money. So back to discharge. We're gonna get through this. I think I needed to do this, and I think this got me over the hurdle. I think I was like, I really need to get over this, like the trauma of it. And if nothing works, coping skills, and then we're gonna just share it with the world and get it off my chest. And because it's just gonna eat me up more and more and more. The more things, keeping it inside, you've got to share your mental health. Regardless, like, get it off, get it. Yeah, it's those skeletons and, are just gonna eat you alive. Like, clean those cobwebs, just get it out. No, I'm not attention seeking as the stupid doctor, No, I'm not. I don't even know how I can even fake this shit. I'm gonna curse on this channel, so I don't know how you can, when you are so disconnected and your body is not working and shutting down. It's scary. Like right now, it was doing it a minute. I was starting to have tremor. I do have my in the stream, so if I do in the stream, all of a sudden, I love you guys. Please subscribe, get notified, like, share the love. Cash App, send me your Powerball money. Because I will make some cool things happen. It's not all going to me. I'm tucking money away so I can help those that have F&D. I kind of want to, because it is a 5-year wait to get new medical equipment. With insurance. So I kind of want to not only get myself, custom mobility equipment that's going to help me when I'm out in public. One of the medical equipment is going to I need something that automatically breaks, because when I do have an episode, I have no, like, if I stop, you're not going to, I need a break. So I need something that automatically breaks. I need something that I can sit, like, I'm struggling with transportation, because taking the bus, big bus, most of the bus stops do not have any place to sit. So that way I can sit. I need it lightweight. I'm short, so I need something that is lightweight and feasible, with the mobility and shortness, that is easy to collapse if needed, somewhat lift, because I'm still in that independent phase, but I don't want to let go of my walker. I backtrack. When the Uber and Lyft, they typically try to get out and assist me and put it in the trunk. I don't like that. I need it, with me, just in case, you never know. You get in an accident, then I have my walker right there. I don't know. It's just, but sensory, I still have sensory issues. Backtrack on that. The staff would not move me, and I feel like they knew that that was a sensory issue, because sorry, I'm getting all discombobulated. Isn't that an old person word? Old generation word. Anyways, So when the nurse refused to give me my daily medication and then proceeded to, for 45 minutes, like a broken record, that she couldn't, that I needed to stop crying. And yeah, she was trying to, get me to break it. But when I'm in an episode like that, I can't stop. And it was medication. I don't know. It was going on for, 2 months after my fall, which makes me believe that this is the concussion, but it was getting pretty bad for that, that first week, like prior to admitting myself. And now that was voluntary. The second round was mandated. So I'm sorry if this is all over the place. And that's what this is going to do is, get my story out there. And I'm going to probably delete this in 24 hours, but get me used to, talking to this stupid camera. But she did that for 45 minutes. Would not give me my medication, would not give me something to help my anxiety. And yeah, she was trying to get me to stop, but she refused to, she needs medication, she's consenting to it. Take the chance. And then they wouldn't refer me out to a real hospital. And that's why I say it's real hospital, dumb hospital. So, anywho, all right, we're gonna talk about the discharge. As a nurse, you should not joke about somebody with mobility who's gravely, I don't like using the word disabled, mobility with having really severe mobility issues. Should not joke that they needed to ambulate. It shouldn't have ever happened. Maybe I should let you guys see, what happens with my face, as evidence that, because it's starting to do it. This should have never happened. I regret it. And this is not fake. This might be psychogenic. This might be all in my head. The trauma of it. It's lifelong now. It's permanent. And I hope that I can find somebody out there who's an attorney to help me. Please, if you don't know me, don't. If you want to reach out, see it stopped, because I stopped talking about it. It shouldn't have ever happened. Never in my 40 years. Gosh, I am 40. Have I ever had a nurse? Yeah, I should have said no. I should have said, no, you're gonna cart me to the van and load me in that way. I shouldn't have never agreed to ambulate. But they They should have. See, there it goes again. And I'm not intentionally doing this. This is evidence that the trauma of this complete. See, I stopped talking about it. I'm a little disoriented. Right? I want somebody to help me. Because this shouldn't have ever happened, and I'm not going to really talk about the impact of it too deeply because, because I don't want it, it's so frustrating. See, I'm a little bit better now that I derailed. And I need to get my hands off my face so then you can see. Those. Okay, we're going to do it. We're going to roll. We're going to. And if I don't do it, that's, if I don't dissociate and twitch and we're making progress. But if I do, I do have my finger and I love you guys. I'll see you next week if I get off of here. So they wouldn't tell me where I was going upon discharge. Kept telling me, oh, if you want to go to your sister's, you can go to your sister's. Okay. Or that family member. Okay. I knew if I did, I had a hint that I was going to another facility or returning to this other facility, and because I lost my apartment. And I knew that they would help me, we would, if I did go over there. I really didn't want to burden my family member, because I could barely walk. Like, I could barely shower without assistance. I just didn't want to do that to my family member. So, and my discharge was last minute, like, oh, okay, cool, yay, 14 days, which was, 3 to 4 to 7 more days than actually planned. Yeah. I kind of felt like they were going to keep me longer. But the fact that they wouldn't tell me where I was going, and she would, make excuses that she couldn't tell me that. Like, she wasn't authorized to tell me that. However, on the paperwork, it says that they sent me to my sisters, my family members. And then she joked that I was going to have to walk from the unit to the van to be transported to wherever I was going. However, backtrack, I literally begged them to offer me a shower. Like, I didn't know where I was going. I hadn't taken a shower for 7 days. I literally begged them to give me a shower. I only had one shower, and that was 7 days prior. I had a shower before I was discharged from the rehab hospital. 7 to 8 days, no shower, because I needed assistance. Luckily, whoever the person was, I think she was a nurse or, a staff member. She's like, how long has it been since you showered? She she was also retired hairdresser, so kudos, but she was only there for one day, that weekend. So kudos to that person. You were an angel. But we're busy. Was what I got the excuse. However, there was another angel. Bless her heart. She was had severe schizophrenia, and I should have. Oh, I've been around her. She claims that she has COVID, or she, bless her heart. Oh, I learned a lot of her cursing. I forget what her name was, surprisingly, hanging out with her and diverting her, because she would shake so much because she was on so many medications, you could tell, and withdrawal or whatever, I don't know, but she would just kind of leech on to other patients and drive people crazy, but it get crazy. She couldn't help it, but bless her heart. But I should have copied her. Well, I think I have COVID. I've been around her. That's a good way to, or learn how to shake like her and be like, I need a shower. I don't know. But I felt like, because I was disabled, I was worth nothing. I was treated intentionally. Like, this disorder was new, and the stress, it would have been common sense. I would be like, oh, okay, this stress of returning here is causing, her to revert back, causing her paralysis. I think that's the correct word, to revert back. Like, she, then the Topamax caused, more issues, seizure issues, drop seizures. And how can I just don't get it. Like, how I could have been faking it or attention seeking for something that I had absolutely no control of. Absolutely no control of. It's common sense. You have staff meetings, and it just makes you just like question the medical field. Makes me question, mental health. Makes me lose my faith, my trust. And we grow up, and especially during the pandemic, we learn, oh my goodness, everybody's got, problems, and then, and the pandemic just brought more issues as a whole, but we're like, okay, mental health, if you're having mental health issues, and seek treatment, get help. Yes, get help. If you are in a crisis, get help. Obviously, now I've learned, go to a real hospital. Make sure you have the connections. Make sure you have support. That's the other thing. I got transferred to this rehab other hospital 3 hours away. So family and friends and my support, bless my bestie. Unfortunately, she's the one that passed away. She had cancer, and she was so frail and so weak, but she was going to try to make it possible. But she was very creative, and she's like, I don't think I can make it up there, drive 3 hours back. I was like, you can come and stay up here. she had family that she could stay with, or she could stay with me, and binge out on, TV shows and, but at the same time, who wants to be hanging out with somebody at the hospital? But bless her heart, she sent a good childhood friend of hers, and they brought me, thankfully, a stuffed monkey. That's the other thing. I have shoulder issues because the hospital refused and made excuses as to why I couldn't have a sling. Now, when you are experiencing paralysis, if you're paralyzed, ask for a sling, because that gravity is going to pull, and that tendon is pretty weak. Sorry, I had to make sure I wasn't running out of time. And I was contracted. My hand was like, T-Rex contracted. And so that monkey kind of saved my hand a little bit. It wasn't, a hand splint. But they refused to give me a hand splint. They're like, oh, roll up a hand towel. But hand towel is going to continue keeping you, contracted. Wrap it in a hand towel. You need a hand splint that's going to, stretch out these fingers and, support your, prevent carpal tunnel and, other problems in the future. And it goes all, it's going to support all these tendons and muscles and, stuff, and keep your hands, Anyways, that monkey was, it had long arms, so I could wrap it around, and, I used its head. So in the middle of the night, I'd sleep with that. And then, bless his heart, he brought me junk food and, just listened to me talk, because while I was on this medication, which I found out that actually one of the medications I'm highly allergic to, and just listened to me. And he was also a pastor too, so I'm kind of converting to, I kind of follow the Buddhist, love everybody, peace and all mentality, spiritual, more than less, because going to church is very difficult, especially after losing my mom, so, which is understandable. So, all right, we're going to talk about discharge. Try again. Anyways, so to look good for the cameras, security cameras, they decided to wheel me to the entrance at least. The nurse manager and this discharge nurse, who, kept joking that I needed to ambulate and at least try, and, oh, I was walking good when I was, admitted, and, it was hours, a couple hours, where I think it was the stress of having to be there again, and it just, and then being at rehab, being told, oh, use a mobility device, your walker, rest, and, conserve your energy, use mobility devices to your advantage, that was from my OT. And then you're like, oh, you're on these psychotopical drugs, that can cause all sorts of side effects, including dizziness, and you're like, you're doing the hospital good, and, you don't want to be a liability falling, because these medications can cause severe disoriented, side effects. So, your patient's already, like, yeah, I could have tried, but I didn't know how. They didn't really teach me in PT how to use a wheelchair. We didn't really, strength exercises, using the wheelchair, because they wanted me to walk and relearn, to regain autonomy and independence, you need to walk, Now, if I was in a 30-day program, if I had transferred into rehab, I think I would have learned, oh, if you need to use a wheelchair, let's regain your strength. And that way, if you needed to use a wheelchair, here's how to transfer, how to, use it, to your advantage. I think I would have learned that if I was able to get into a 30-day, rehab program, which was recommended. But then, so I lost mobility pretty fast. I think it was because I had to be here, at this mental hospital again, and they failed me, a month prior, caused, me to stroke out. And so the nurse manager, high heels, stilettos, skirt, I think, I don't remember. She's like, we're gonna do this. You need to walk. The one thing that, I hate having mobility issues, and I think most of you can relate, is stupid carpets. So I got stuck on the carpet. See, now I'm not trying to scare you guys, and I'm not gonna seize. I think it's just triggering to talk about this because it's not right. So I'm like, okay, if I have to do this in order to go to this other place, wherever I was going, they didn't really tell me until I thought it took me a century to get to the van. I'm puffing. It took both the nurse manager, the discharge manager, and I'm puffing, and finally, I think it took 15, 20 minutes to get me to the van. And I'm not saying it was, entrance to the van, they had a little, it wasn't that far, but it certainly felt like I was walking a mile. Let me derail just a little bit because I'm feeling it trigger a little bit. Because I was having seizures, drop attacks, they started refusing me to go to group therapy. They wouldn't let me go outside. I couldn't go to the cafeteria. And then when they would bring my food back, come and get it. And if you don't, they're going to throw it away. Yeah, that's what I heard. Like telling a dog who's chained up, that's how it made me feel. See, my face is reacting to. My face. Yes, I have mast cell activation. I do think. Yeah, it could be stress related. Let's backtrack. Yes, I am very proud of myself that we're not getting the facial. Now we're getting the other reaction. Yeah, it's psychological, but yeah. But it's also because I've been on these medications that cause an allergic reaction or hypersensitivity. And so that's another clue that, the stress of this. What else am I going to talk about? Okay, let's try again. We're going to do this. Anyways, puffing. They literally had to take my pants and load me up because it's a van, mobility. Like, they could have saved us a lot of trauma, a lot of stress, a lot of this future permanent bullshit if they just, like any other nurse, just wheeled me to the van. And to my knowledge, to my research, this is, and I'm a good human. I don't believe in, ruining somebody else's, life. This has ruined my life quite a bit. I don't want revenge, but this is permanent now. Like, I was reading the report too, the medical report that the doctor recommended trauma therapy, but his suggestion was to do ECT. Well, that's major side effects. Like, if you don't know what that is, old school electrocution, zap your brain, lose your, memory. Like, that's so outdated. Not that's used, in severe cases. Like, but I will give him the credit that he did recommend whatever other professionals ketamine, which I think I am going to try ketamine, but only if I flare. I have a serious, flare and relapse, basically, with this, then I will consider it. I do know somebody that has FND personally, that she said that it helped and she had regained her life back. But ECT, that's scary. Like, to lose your memories, like, short term, long term, that's scary for me. Now, if it, if somebody said, never mind. And then EMDR, I've heard mixed things about that. That if you have complex PTSD, it's not really going to work. But if you're out there and you're watching this, and please leave a comment on your experience with that. And two, I might try the ketamine too, because I have now severe pain. Like, it's this all shouldn't have ever happened. Like, I wish I could go back and I should have just went to a real hospital. I will. That's the other thing is, if you're in a mental health crisis, please seek help. Go to an emergency room first. Don't, yeah, if they have good reviews and, but make sure that it's not something besides mental health. Like, you could be having stroke, you could have a concussion, you could have, a bazillion other things. And these independent, mental health hospitals are not, it's just better to go to real hospital, ER, sorry. Then, if they recommend going to these independent hospitals, then, get referred there. But save the hassle, save the trouble, because it could have been something else. Know people. Build a support system. Really know people in the healthcare professional industry, because I've dealt with a lot of shady red tape shit that makes you feel like a number instead of a human. And the healthcare system, it's sad. Like, so I hope. Okay, we're gonna try one more time to finish off on this. Good Lord, I've been talking about 3 hours. But I just feel like I just need to get it out, and you know, doing YouTube and trying to, I think I was trying to control it too much, and I just at the beginning I just wanted, to try to get it out, show what I wanted to show, and then but now that I've done this live, and regardless of nobody really watching for 3 hours, I think this helps, and I think telling my story, I know it's all over the place, but I don't mean to dump it all on whoever watches this later. I don't want sympathy. I want somebody to be like, maybe you need justice, you need to be compensated. Because, yeah, I'm collecting disability, but they still expect you to try to work. I want to work. I want to, because the amount that they give you, and, it's two things. They encourage you to work, but you can only reach this to keep your disability. You can only have a certain amount of money. So, like, let's say they give you a certain amount, but you can only, which gives you an idea of what you can handle with your disability. It kind of motivates you to, see if you can work. But then the hard part is with a complex disability like mine, you can't really work too. Like, and then I feel like now that I can't drive anymore, like, I don't want to, I don't want to drive anymore either, too, even if I could, because I'm scared that I might flare at some point. And I don't want to risk, my life, and I definitely don't want to risk somebody else's life. So, and two, it's insane to maintain a car, and, gas, might inflate at some point, I do predict. So it's just, and then I can't afford to buy a new vehicle, which is insane. So I just don't want to risk it anymore. I didn't start driving until I was 18. I had a medical condition at that time that kind of stalled that until I was 18. Do I love driving? Yes, I love driving. I miss it. I'll miss the aspect, like I told you, there's like a connection thing with my mom, yeah, but spiritual thing. But I'll look for her in other ways, eventually, and I'll tell that story later. But anyways, let's backtrack to discharge. They loaded me in the vehicle. I had another episode. I was aware that I was vomiting. They neglected, shut the door, and buckled me in, and I was having this episode, which kind of scared the driver who was going to transport me, and he's like, oh, I'm freaked out. I don't think I can drive her. So they were looking for options on what to do with me. The place that I was going, I understand liability. They couldn't really assist me to shower, I was having trouble. I needed assistance in using the bathroom again. And so they told me my options were I could go back in to the hospital, or I could discharge to this place. And I kind of knew that I was going to make plans to, like, why couldn't I go to the hospital, a real hospital, as an option? Like, I don't get it. See? I know it's starting. Like, I know my body very well now, but this will just trigger this, but I don't think I will go in a full-fledged. See, I'm slurring my speech too. It's weird. It's permanent. But then let's continue. I knew that they were gonna maybe medically kidnap me at this point, like, so I chose to discharge and be done with them. But once we got to the place, they proceeded to do the same thing, force me to walk, like common sense. Like, I know nurses. They would have just wheeled me, compassionately wheel me to the van. Like, why force somebody to walk? Like, even as a medical massage therapist myself, like, I would never have done that to a patient. Like, you lost your ability, let me go grab you a wheelchair. We're gonna just, yeah, you're gonna have to do the minimum. See, my face is, like, again, that's the other sign that, yeah, I know my thing doesn't involve major serious issues. Yeah, I was hit on by one of the nurses. Yeah, I questioned this in the rehab. Well, before I got transferred to the rehab, I was like this. When my face does this, it gets really super itchy. Like, now my chest is doing it. Yeah, I was given this medication that I questioned about. This did not cause these seizures. This was the Topamax that caused that. But I was given a medication, and I can't find any report on it in my medical portal. I think I need to ask the hospital for that report, or all my records during that visit. But I felt like I was going to cope. But that did not cause these seizures. I will attest to that. That I did not see these. This stuff started, the droopiness, getting paralyzed, that started in August of 27. That incident did not cause any, like, drop seizures. It didn't cause me to have any, like, become reparalyzed, drop seizures. That started because of the Topamax. So that made me code. Like I was rolling my eyes back. They would try to flip the lights on. That caused a seizure. Um, that was strange. And what's annoying is, I have these episodes and I'm aware and I'm conscious. So, which, and then it gives me more anxiety when they happen because the stupid moron that tries to help me or thinks that, seizure protocol is ripping somebody's hair out, splashing ammonia. Um, the sternum massage is what I thought that was just the common thing and the only thing. I guess there's more seizure protocols out there that I don't know about. And I've had, this, um, and I know a lot about, epilepsy, professionally and personally, and, through my support. All right. So, so, but usually seizures of any sort, regardless if they're psychogenic or grandma or whatever, all it takes is compassion. And okay, just make sure that they don't choke on, vomit if they vomit, fall, um, what else? Roll on the side if, they are choking on their own saliva or whatever. Get them on the ground is the best position to be in. If they lose consciousness, sternum massage, but usually, and then just count how many seizures if they reoccur, and then after 3 or 4 or 5, then it's time to go to the hospital. If you can get them to the point where they can walk um, and then transport them, if not, then call the ambulance. But and if their seizure prolongs for too long, after a minute or two, then then we have a problem. But do the right thing. Like compassion in healthcare is just it's sad. Like it's lacking and common sense. Like, anyways, back to the gosh, I've been talking 3 hours. I'm surprised my voice has it's slowly getting there. But now that I think I need to do this more and just practice talking about this. And I am writing it down now and organizing it. So maybe need to just not necessarily read off of it, but organize it so I can check off, what to talk about and get it kind of organized. Anyways, so they got me to the place and forced me to walk again, where bless whoever's heart, I think it was the person helping me, I don't remember. I'm huffing, puffing, I'm dragging my leg, my foot, it's not wanting to work, my hand, it's not working, I'm feeling droopy. I felt like, I was going to collapse. Like, and if you are a Christian and you spiritual like that, the best way to describe what I'm going through is I feel like I'm carrying the cross. It's heavy. It's really heavy. And gosh, I hope I don't have issues a little later because I have an appointment here coming up, which I have to get ready for. Thank you for listening to me. I did have another seizure once I got into the facility that they dropped me off at. And like I felt like I was choking, and I think it was just like a sigh of relief that, the abuse, the neglect, and the unnecessary, unethical, the gaslighting, I thought it was going to be over. And and I could vaguely hear, because I'm aware and unconscious, I'm not unconscious, I'm conscious during the episodes, which the nurse manager was like trying to apologize. The other thing is, why did the nurse manager's daughter, who was going to school for social work, and you can get the vibes that she was legit embarrassed by this whole situation, and to let's backtrack the funny part. So the wheelchair was broken. They're trying to figure out, two nurses are trying to figure out how to collapse this wheelchair. Yeah, it was broken. It wasn't gonna collapse. Then they decided, upon my suggestion, maybe you just need to just put it in the back of the van. Don't collapse it. They couldn't figure out how to. It was like watching somebody, that ball that you put the different shapes, and it helps kids to figure out, shapes and coordination and stuff. They couldn't figure out how to put this stupid wheelchair in. Until I was like, well, the other facility will have a wheelchair just in case, that I can probably use. Don't worry about it, At least that's what I think happened. I'm not sure, because it was so stressful, and I just wanted to get out of Dodge, like get out of there. Not only that, they had a couple patients that were very messed up and picking on people, that, especially me, because they were trying to see what I could handle and thought it was fun. Very psychopathic, behavior. Like when this all started, there was, I don't think she should have been there, but she was causing chaos. It didn't really faze me when she initially was slamming all the doors, but I think when that nurse that was initially, doing that, and then the girl that was slamming all the doors, causing all that chaos, and then she was like causing problems. She thought it didn't matter who it was. I think she was just psychopathic, and she didn't belong there. She was, I think, too young. Yeah, I think she was 18, but she had developmental issues. She didn't understand that she couldn't go out and smoke and have a cigarette when it was, time to go out for scheduled outdoor time. And she was getting really upset because they took away her privileges, and so she was causing a lot of problems, and I think I was in her like bird's eye view, and she was just gonna, like annoy me, I guess. Thank goodness I started having a couple friends, at this point. Bless their heart, they, like tried to get her to stop, because they, like, and two, I was starting to have this condition and starting to stroke, and two, and then so I think she could see that I was having problems, and I don't know, psychotic, stupid behavior. Thought I was a target, I guess, but and then, but what gets me most is like I went to the nurse when this whole thing started, drooping, numbness. I didn't think much of it over the night. I was biting my tongue, which could have been a seizure because of the medication. And I've been on the medication for like 2 days, since it started. But we made it a plan to come back after getting some fresh air, report back in 45 minutes. she gave me some blood pressure medication because my blood pressure was still sky high since 4 days. But I don't think the girl, she was like huffing and puffing, and she's like, move, I couldn't really move. I felt stoned anyways. I couldn't move fast enough, and with doors in medical facilities, they're really heavy. Could that have caused this? I honestly think they missed. I had a fall, possible concussion. They looked in my medical records. Fall. Ethical thing to do is refer her out. We think she has maybe a concussion. Let's refer her out. The nurse failed me by not giving me my medications or, taking precautions and giving me something. Then this incident happened. But then they're going to blame it on this because it's with this condition, it's logical. It could be this. I don't want to use that word because it's outdated. It's been out of date since 2013. This is with the falling and other comorbidities with this. It is truly FND. And I've learned that there's multiple forms of the outdated, and I don't know. It's just the medical community needs to, hunker down and be like, okay, it's FND. Let's steer away from this, outdated terminology. Let's stop segregating the psychogenic and true, because it still involves the brain. It still involves the brain. It's neurological. As somebody that has FND herself, who is previously, I wouldn't say I'm fully retired from medical massage, but who deals with physical, aspects, this is legitimately, yeah, I think it does involve mental health, but if I didn't have that history, it's still physical health. It drives me crazy. Let's stop the stigma, people. Let's join together, join forces, quit. It's making me feel like, mental health is just focus on big pharma and cashing on, vulnerable people. I honestly, at this point, I don't feel like, psychiatrists are real doctors, and, but that's, my beliefs now. It's like, quit ping-ponging people. If you don't know as a healthcare professional, refer them out. If it's beyond your scope of practice, or, we need to stop, itemizing our healthcare. Like, if I come to you with a problem, how are you sleeping? How are you eating? How are you, focus on the whole spectrum. Use the 22 minutes is like the max for 1 unit of, quit compacting your care, with, you could be missing something. You could, I don't know. This needs to stop. Basic band-aid healthcare. This, quit throwing medications. Now I'm just reacting because I'm okay. I'll say this is mental. This allergic reaction is mental. Well, I hope you guys had fun. I need to get going. I've been doing this for 3.5 hours. But I think it needed to be dumped somewhere. I think practicing and doing this and dumping it, I probably shouldn't, like, practice, like, to get it off my chest and dumping it out in the universe, because I don't want it to, I think it'll help to say that I dumped it, no more, like, let's stop talking about it, like, because I felt like in mental health, talking to therapists over and over and over and over, about this thing, it just seemed like it was not helping me. And then I'm like, well, now, I'm decreasing mental health. I need to find some other avenue to just dump it and forget it and be done with it. And, I was just finding that I was like, I'm not going to ever get better. Because you only have 60 minutes, 50 minutes with the mental health, and we just kept talking about the same thing. Talking to friends, same thing, It's just like, I just needed a third option to just dump. And I don't want to dump it and, have pity and all that. That's not my game. I think it's just trying to throw it in the trash, like not forget about it in the sense, because, not to suppress it. I think I didn't know what else to do, so I'm trying YouTube, and if it doesn't work, which I think it is helping, I did a few videos on, I think I needed to also share my story to feel connected. Like I've said, that I feel like I felt so disconnected, not only physically, but emotionally and mentally, like, so hopefully you guys hear my story out, help me whatever way you can. Feel free to reach out to me via email. If you have any suggestions or whatever, they're very much welcomed. So I did get to a real hospital after that, made a plan with the facility, stayed at the hospital for a few days. They did determine that this was FND and got me with physical therapy again. And that is a later story. So we'll leave it at that. I love you guys. Hugs, kisses, and be well, stay well, be kind to others. It's not worth it, not worth the stress, because the stress can debilitate you if you prolong it and suppress it. So, all right, I'm gonna call it quits. I hope you like this, share this. So I hope you enjoyed your long coffee break. I'm so proud of myself, like, that I was able to do this. Yeah, I might have issues later. So, and it's not to create more drama in the world. It's just, I just don't know what else to do. And I don't want to suppress it. And I want to help others with this. I'm on a mission to help others. So, and the older I get, I wish I could go back to my younger self and be like, chill out, Also, my best advice is, you don't have to work so hard. Quit working so hard. Quit compacting your schedule. Spend time with friends, family. Life is too short. Too short. So there's quite a bit about me now out there. So quite winded. All right. Anyways, I'm proud of myself that I had no major episode on live air. And if you have F&D, I'm proud of you for all that you've accomplished. It's hard, it's not easy. As I'm saying that as a healthcare professional and personally. You're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through it together. So, and be well and take care of yourself. Bye. Officially.
Well, that's a wrap. The coffee's done, but our fight's just begun. We power strong like warriors do, living life with F&D and you. Sip happens, but we'll survive. We serious chats, we'll always thrive. Stay fit, stay bold, keep pushing through. The next show's coming just for you. Remember, warriors, coffee fuels the soul, but your strength powers the fight. See you next time.